Is there a difference in the way that you approach a big-budget movie like Pirates of the Caribbean to the way you approach a local production like The Eye of the Storm?
No. It's interesting because when we've just done a couple of months ago, we just did a big global junket for Pirates, and it was interesting. That question got asked a lot. I remember Johnny Depp saying, the process is no different. He said, it's probably a little different with something like Pirates because it's now on a 4-chapter saga.
Yeah.
So there's more familiarity with like in terms of the direction that a character's head in. You don't have to invent unseen activities for that character because you've probably played them at some point in another film, so that the references, the personal character references are sort of part and parcel of what you're doing. But no, it's the difference is probably in terms of tone. With something like Pirates, you are working on a huge monetary scale. It's a fiercely commercial form. So it's a much bigger event in terms of the number of personnel, in terms of stunt teams, marine teams, visual effects people, etc. But ultimately, once you get down to a duologue between you and another actor, whether it's Barbossa and Jack Sparrow or whether it's Basil Hunter and Dorothy, once you as a minimal number of actors are in front of a camera, the same principles of approaching a characterization or the nature of a performance, shaping a performance generally from the same rule book.
Yeah.
It's just that, I suppose if you wanted to make parallels, in The Eye of the Storm there are many more intense kind of, and probably subtler and more intimate scenes between the minds of the characters.
Yeah.
But, because we don't break into sword fights in Eye of the Storm or go into any big extravagant set pieces, but then again, there is a massive cyclone sweeps through the center of the film.
Yeah.
That, on a lesser but probably even more imaginative level is a challenge for, the effects people.
Yeah. When something like The King's Speech comes along, do you have any inkling of the kind of success a film like that would generate?
No, not really. We always thought on that film I always thought that it was the most intriguing elemental story between two highly unlikely antagonists, or two characters that find themselves operating inside the same world. One from a huge dynastic royal family heritage, and the other one a nobody from the other side of the world. And I found the dimensions of that, the divide between them, the imperial and the colonial, would be hopefully a fascinating story. But that it went. It was a relatively low budget film. I think it was 14 million. And made 400 million, so it made almost half of what Pirates made.
Yeah.
But no, it went way beyond expectations. Yet in the back of your mind, you think, well, this is ultimately about two middle-aged men involved in a particular scenario, most of which is talking in a room. Is that going to be electrifying or engaging for an audience? And as it turned out, it was.
Yeah.
So I have high hopes for two middle-aged children fighting over their mother's inheritance. may just spark something. I think there's, I know the number of people who've seen the film at various press screenings or industry screenings like you've seen it. They all come out going, wow, families.
Yeah. You're so prolific. There must be around 6 or 7 films in your filmography in the last year alone. What do you like to do in your downtime when you're not working?
Well, I'm in that period now. I've taken the last couple of years has been involved doing quite a substantial balance between theatre. We did a play at Belvoir late last year and then took it to New York earlier this year, and then there was Drowsy Chaperone, the musical, last year, and then I've sandwiched in Pirates and Eye of the Storm in and around all of that.
Yep.
So I'm taking a good long break now to reconnect with family life. I'm not doing anything until the end of the year when I put on the bustle and tape up the tackle to play Lady Bracknell.
And what do you like to do for hobbies in the downtime?
For me, it's really just getting on with life. It's getting back into being part of the day-to-day running of the family, cooking, getting to read, getting to watch TV with my kids, or listen to music, catch up on stuff.
Yep.
Maybe think about tinkering with a writer idea. I don't know. I've always thought, if you take a sort of enforced sabbatical, it's a time to let your mind go blank for a while and see what kind of pops in.
Yeah.
At one prescribed creative level.
Excellent. Well, the last question. Your career began in the theatre with the Queensland Theatre Company, and as you said before, you still like to tread the boards when you can. What brings you more pleasure, film acting or acting on stage?
Well, finding that, I sort of, not abandoned, but I got sidetracked by going into films about 15 years ago, and did much, proportionately much less theatre than I had in the first 25 years, where I was doing, 8 shows a year or something. But the last couple of years I quite like that I found this balance between maybe I was lucky, but they were very interesting and specific projects. Once I'd taken The King to Broadway 4 years ago, I was very keen to kind of kick at that door again sooner rather than later, so that was fantastic to go over to the Brooklyn Academy earlier this year. But yeah, a bit of both is enlivening.
Excellent. Okay, I thank you very much for taking the time out this morning, and I wish you much success with the Eye of the Storm when it opens in a couple of months from now.
Thanks a lot, mate. Bye.
Bye.